around. Coming around. And coming around
The
means
bend.
a lot of things.
It does. But you know what? My friend that's the chiropractor that went to school with you, that did my neck, he's in the same town as them.
Oh, really?
I am going to say something about, because they're coming up here at Thanksgiving, but you're not going to have time to see them when they're here.
I won't be here at Thanksgiving.
Right.
I'm actually going out of town. But
I need to get them to somebody.
Right. Well, definitely. I think that would be wonderful for them, especially if it was somebody who could teach them. You know, I do a lot of talking. My girls get on to me because sometimes I take too long with patients because I like to teach them. But I want them to be aware and I want them to be empowered. I want them to learn how to heal themselves or how to do the best thing for themselves in the given case or scenario, whatever it is. Sometimes it's just teaching them how to walk up and down stairs.
Right.
You know, sometimes it's teaching them how to stand up and sit down. And those are all things you would think somebody would know.
But we forget and we get in a hurry and then we take shortcuts and we stop doing things the right way.
And you have pains and you start to guard and you compensate and you start doing it wrong and you don't even realize you're doing it wrong. And then it just impedes the progress and makes you get worse. And it's a trickle-down effect. So, you know, those things, talking and listening and teaching and educating, all of those things empower the patient to help themselves.
Right.
That's really I think that's what this whole show's been about.
Yes.
Empowering the patient to help themselves.
Yes.
That was did you see my picture that I put
I
on
did.
Facebook?
I really like that.
Did you like it?
If you send me that, I'll start using that for our show.
Cool.
Yeah, I like that a lot. That was really good.
Excellent. I like that too. So that's what it's all about. You know, trying to make people successful in this world. And when it comes to healthcare, that is a big daunting thing for people. Like, first of all, they feel stupid. They feel like they don't know. And then they feel like they don't have money to go to a doctor to find out. And then they feel like if they get to the doctor, they're going to have to do all these tests. And then what? They're not going to have money to pay for the tests. And then they feel like once I get the test and they diagnose me with something, they're going to either put me on something or they're going to make me have surgery or I'm going to have to do something that's going to cost more money and I don't even know how I'm going to pay for the visit. How am I going to pay for that? And so then they let things go. And there's other means, there's other methods, there's other things that cost a lot less. And, you know, educating yourself goes a long way. You know, if you can walk in and tell a doctor what you think is going on. I've had that happen so many times. People have come to me first because they just want me to assess them.
Keep talking.
And, you know, if they can get me to assess them and narrow it down for them, then they can take that information and go to their medical doctor and hopefully get a more focused exam on whatever's bothering them. I've had that happen weekly. Weekly people come in just so I can evaluate them because they want to go to their medical doctor and be able to talk to them about
that makes sense.
a focused issue.
Right.
Rather than just,
that.
I've got these symptoms and you got to figure it out because they don't trust it. They don't trust the medical evaluation because of all the reasons I just described.
And, you know, another thing that I've noticed just recently, and I think it's because their doctor's insurance is so high, that now if one doctor says that this is wrong with you, before you can even seek a second opinion, protocol has to be followed.
Like you have to do what they say to try to get better.
Yes.
Well, I don't think that's across the board yet. I hope it's not because that's bull.
Something happened with someone that I know and love that I argued with, and they were acting like I was the stupidest person for arguing with that. When the doctor stood there and told me that the surgery would probably be inconclusive.
Mm-hmm. Like he couldn't guarantee anything.
Right. That the surgery was just to find out if this is what the problem was, and it was less than a 50-50 chance. So why do the surgery?
Right. Well, and that's all they got, right? If all I had to work with was a pad of paper in one hand and a knife in the other, it's like, which do you want?
All right.
Which do you want? I can either do this for you, or I can do this for you. Which do you want? You know, that's very limiting for them.
It is, yes.
So they're doing their best. I'm sure they're doing their best. Most of them, they didn't go into business to, you know, to have arguments with patients. They went into business to help people, but they feel like this is all I've got for you, lady. Take it or leave it. And if you're not going to take it and you're going to leave it, then by golly, yeah, I ain't going to like that. You know,
Right.
I ain't going to like that. And then I think that because I'm a member of a lot of groups on Facebook that are like natural health, families for natural healing, and things like that. And so I watch the blogs, I watch the posts. A lot of people talk about having to sign something, having to go for a interview to be a patient. I had this one patient tell me she had to go for 2 interviews before they would allow her to become a patient of theirs, and she had to sign a document that stated that she would do everything in her power to follow the doctor's orders.
Oh my
at
God.
all. And I was like, that is not legal. I mean,
Wow.
it is legal in that there's nothing telling them they can't do that, but that is an office-to-office policy. There is no law that states you have to follow your doctor's orders. You are your own personal advocate for your health. I mean, if you disagree with a doctor and you don't want to follow his orders, that's your right to do with what your body as you wish.
To seek another
opinion, or to, you know, not follow that advice is your right. So for somebody to say you can't be my patient unless you sign this document saying you're going to do everything I say, I mean, that's just, to me, that's terrible. Yeah, Patrick's saying that happened to him, and it did happen to him. It was many years ago. We were young.
Wow.
And it actually, it scared me. I quit going to that doctor's office too, because I was like, are you kidding me? He actually got cornered physically by the doctor, and the doctor got right up in his face and was just yelling at him, telling him that if he didn't follow his instructions, if he didn't take the medication that the doctor was trying to force him to take, that he was going to blackball him from the medical community in the area and send out letters to all the affiliated doctors with his hospital not to accept Patrick as a patient.
Oh my gosh!
And Patrick went crazy on him.
That's
I mean, he didn't
crazy,
get physical,
though.
but he let him know. Boy, because I don't know anybody who has met Patrick that would want to put him in a corner. I'm just saying, Patrick did not. At first he was kind of like, "What is going on?" And then all of a sudden, he's like,
that's like evil.
Yeah, it really was. It was scary. And I was like, well, I'm never going back to that doctor again. That was awful. I don't know what prompted it. It was very strange. And it was kind of back before all of this, what we're talking about here. And it wasn't in Michigan. It was in Iowa. But it was like almost 20 years ago. And I was like, wow, I've never even heard
Freaky, huh?
of that. But now that's like becoming mainstream, which is so scary
It
to me.
reminds me of when I was in real estate, and all of a sudden they had this one piece of paper that you could sign and have people only work with you as their realtor.
Right.
And if they bought a house
Exclusive
through
rights.
right.
Yes.
And if they bought a house through another realtor, you could go back on that realtor and get part of that commission.
Mm-hmm.
What if they didn't like you after? What if you stopped doing your job after the third house they saw?
Yeah, that
It's the same
exclusivity
kind of
is
thing
just
is bad.
stupid. I
Yeah,
think
it's a
that's
free
stupid.
country. We should be able to do what we
And
want.
if I decide to go, if you're jerking around, not doing your job, and I want to go somewhere else, that's my right. And if I don't want you to have any of the commission because you didn't do any of the work, they did all the work, that's
my right. That's absolutely correct.
So I don't know about that all. But we're getting all like woo,
discombobulated. And
I'm soapboxy today, babies.
And
watch out. I'm soapboxy.
we don't mean to flabbergast you.
But a lot of interesting stuff came up.
A lot of
actually.
interesting stuff. So let's talk about it. And it started out that we started out this show with how important your role as parents are.
Yeah.
And
teaching
how the
our
little,
babies young.
Yep, those little brains suck in everything. That's why you know, if you say a bad word in front of a child, you don't think that they're going to say it. And then you're at dinner and your kid blurts out the F word.
They do.
They
say
and
it.
you may have only said it once. they remember everything. Everything.
But that means in a good way, too. So
Right.
when you do things right, when you're showing them right, when you're teaching them natural healing, natural health, let them know about their bodies. Oh, when you have a bellyache, maybe it's your liver, maybe it's your pancreas. Maybe we should eat some of this. Maybe we should do some of that. All of those things, stick with them.
Right.
Sticks
And, you
right
know,
with 'em.
another thing that comes to mind is don't just eat one thing all the time. Change your foods. We talked about that rainbow on your plate.
Mm-hmm.
If there's one thing that frosts my butt, it's a picky eater.
I know. I've learned to let that stuff go because it is irritating, but people are funny. I'm not going to say who, but a relative was like that, like big time like that. And she coming up, she was always like, you know, if it ain't chicken nuggets and mac and cheese, I ain't eating it.
Well,
I ain't eating it.
and
It's
that's
like,
so sad.
So they would, you know, make dinner, and then she would have like something separate. She
Right,
would have
that's
like
what
pizza
my-
rolls for dinner. And
My
I'm like, "What are you
cousin's
doing?"
wife had 3 boys, and she would, and my cousin Billy, and she would cook 3 different things every night for dinner. Why would you put yourself through that?
It doesn't make any
It
sense. It's not
doesn't.
even good for the person to
You
eat the same
you
thing
can
all the
train
time.
their taste buds when they're little to like
you
everything.
may not be able to train them into Brussels sprouts, but you
Oh,
can.
but they're so
Oh,
delicious.
me and
We
Deb
love our
Brussels
Brussels sprouts. Oh, they're so good. We just bought some too at the
I love
grocery
Brussels
store.
sprouts. Don't
They're
ever buy them on the
delicious.
stalk. They're hard to get off.
We grew them. You should see them grow. How weird they are. They
They
start
are
out like
weird.
these little bumps, and then
And
they
they-
yeah, they're so weird. They're so weird. Anyway, we digress. So it's really important being a parent, not only teaching them about their bodies, but how to eat
yes.
and everything.
Yeah.
Just be aware. It's your job. Focus on it and do it well.
And learn it yourself.
Damn it.
You're not. It's not that hard, and it's kind of interesting.
It is.
Get you a color atlas and draw it.
There
draw
you
it
go.
Or color it in and learn about them. And
I bet you
do it
can
with your
find them on
babies.
Amazon.
Yeah, it's really cool stuff, and it's beautiful. The
I think
artwork is beautiful.
I think we should, and you know, how Sunday school is about religion. I think we should start Saturday school and have it be about anatomy.
Yeah. But I think it should have a twist to it.
Anatomy with a twist? Do tell.
This isn't going to make sense to you, but it's a Saturday, right? So I
Yes.
think nobody should sit in that classroom.
Oh, I love it. An unsaturday.
It's going to be an unsaturday.
I love it. We could have
Patrick's
desks
done
like
with me.
this.
He's like, he's out of here.
We could have desks like this or high-tech counters.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Unsaturday.
Okay, then.
On Sunday, so then no sun all day.
No, now
No.
you're carrying it too far.
You're
now,
just
who
being
would
silly.
who would do that?
Being silly.
On Tuesday, no twos.
Oh, my gosh. Oh,
Patrick got carried away.
He
So
did.
anyway, so we talked about that, and then we kind of rolled it back around to parenting again. We talked about being your own advocate for your health
yes.
and well-being, and if other people aren't stepping up to the plate, then help them
That's right.
and,
And
force them to go see you like people do.
they actually, once they get there,
They're
and
happy.
They are happy, but at first they're very leery. I can always tell, and it's so fun. I have the funnest time at work. I do. And I just love watching their little, like, brains explode. And
Oh.
then, wow, you touched it, and it was hurting, and you touched it again, and it was gone. I love that. I love that. That's beautiful.
So seek alternative, and you know it's okay to go to the doctor. We're not saying that it's not okay to go to the doctor, but if you think something's wrong and nobody can tell you what it is, then you know something's wrong. Go find out what it is.
Yeah, and if you don't have
find
enough
out.
money, if you really don't have enough money for the doctor, chiropractic is very reasonable. I mean, it's
and it is
super
covered by a
reasonable.
lot of insurances.
It is, and naturopathy generally is not covered, but again, it's very reasonable, and it's worth it because if you can, let's say you have to pay for a prescription every month. Some prescriptions are ridiculous, $800,000 a month,
Right.
Or you could spend $200 at a naturopath in a month and get cured and be done. and feel good and not have to take medicine and not have to keep going back. And, you know, you can go to a chiropractor 6 to 8 times